TV show that I'm not sure if it's quite a classic, and I'm actually interested to see if this is even going to be a show you think is good. Industry on HBO, um, the newest HBO miniseries,
Yeah.
8 episodes, created by Mickey Down and Conrad K. Um, looking at basically like stock trading and
Mhm.
the Wall Street of
Yeah.
London, so
Investment
to
banking,
speak.
I think
Yes,
specifically.
investment banking in London, and starring like a lot of people don't know, which is kind of cool too. That this has a lot of young stars, headlined mostly by Myha'la Herald.
Yep.
Myha'la Herald.
Myha'la.
Yes, yes. I
Mhm.
know the exclamation point threw me off. As Harper,
Mhm.
who's like this new intern or new hire and kind of
Yeah,
trying to make
they're
her
like
way.
recent grad. I think that the pilot pitch is pretty effective, right? There are all these recent grads that fought tooth and nail to get a start at this prestigious fictional investment bank in London, and now they're on in this 6 month like trial period where they'll find out based on their performance if they're actually hired as full time permanent employees, and that pressure cooker is
Mhm.
immediately turned all the way up as we see in the first 2 episodes. So I think that like initial hook of like just kind of being thrown into this high stakes financial world as someone in their young 20s, like I think that's really effectively communicated right away.
Mhm.
I mean, me and you, we're not veterans of the of high finance or anything, but I think it's
No.
notable that Mickey Down and Conrad K, who are first time showrunners, are actually veterans of that world. So
Mhm.
they seem to kind of be bringing at
Real
least some
experience.
semblance of realism or expectations. I think the show definitely is going for it all pretty quickly. But I've been entertained so far. I'm curious to see more because it's a little different of a vibe. It's not like you can just pin this down as, oh, that's Succession. It's I think because, and it's also not as comic as like Wolf of Wall Street, right? It's almost more
Mhm.
like, I don't know, like societal, right? Like they kind of like they kind of like examining their lives and what they're doing in this pursuit of money and what they're doing to themselves. Like, I don't know how deep it'll actually get and if it'll achieve all these things, but I like how it started.
Yeah, I do think that the setup is effective. I think I almost just want to see more of stuff going on at work, because I don't know. I don't really feel super invested in a lot of these characters outside of Harper. Um, there's a lot of different things going on, right? So you have the one guy who's like a total party like party playboy, basically, who's
Yeah, he
going out every
literally just
night, and
ketamine the first episode
yeah.
and then goes to a work meeting the next day. Like, good luck, man.
Yeah, insane. But I also feel like that's probably fairly realistic, knowing some
Yep.
people in this world in New York City. Um, and kind of looking at these other ones, like there's the gay couple that's kind of secret about their relationship and seem
Mhm.
to be kind of having some weird, I don't know, ups and downs in that relationship. Not really sure where they're at with each other. There's the girl who is feeling unattended to or uncared for by her boyfriend and is kind of flirting with this guy at work, and I found that interesting, but
Mhm.
um, I don't really find myself like caring too much about these characters. But the time I do care is things like Harper totally crushing the pitch at dinner, and like the after effect of that,
Yeah.
or the scene where they're at the party after the second episode, and that one guy is like being a total dick, and Harper like stands up to him, and
Right.
then her mentor steps in. I think his name's Eric.
Yep.
Steps in, and it's like those are the moments when I'm like, all right, this is like I'm in it. I'm watching right now. The other times, like it's kind of just like the back and forth. I'm not like super into yet. Maybe that will come along further, but I'm wondering if you have that same investment or if I'm
Yeah, I
maybe just
think
not vibing.
Harper by far is the character you had the most investment in. Like, I'm already like feeling the dread about when they inevitably find out about her falsified college transcript.
Right.
Shout out to SUNY Binghamton, by the way. Um, like they're laying a lot on with her, right? Like, oh, she also happens to be a black person in this predominantly white workplace. It's notable that there's a lot of diversity in this fictional firm, and that's great for on-screen representation, you know. But I don't actually know how realistic that is for investment banking. But
Yeah.
like it's very noticeable, right? There's like a lot of like diversity uh, on the front. Yet she's still facing or hearing about people having kind of more stereotypical like racist thoughts about her employment and her qualifications and stuff. So we'll see again. We'll see
Mhm.
how far they take that kind of stuff. I definitely liked Ken Leung as Eric, her mentor. I believe he's a veteran of Lost, probably most notably, but kind of I like that energy he's having. Right, it's like low
Mhm.
key like Matthew McConaughey a little bit
Yeah.
in Wolf of Wall Street. His famous cameo, right, where he's like holds her the bat, gives her the bat, you know, don't forget how this feels, blah blah. You know, he's like he's gonna start pounding his chest soon, I'm sure.
Yeah. No, I think what makes him a little bit more like relatable as Eric is he does have that vibe, but also kind of like that sweetness, like that conversation where he loses that client, right? Because he was like a dick to his wife when they were out on some dinner before.
Hmm.
You can see him like actually internalizing that and kind of like stepping in later. So you kind of see that this is a character who's going to be like that. He's a dick at his core, but kind of a nice dick in the long run, which you kind of need, I think, to succeed in that business in some way. I'm also interested to see what comes back around about the like sexual assault, basically that happens to Harper in the first episode with that client who she
Hmm.
makes her first sell to. It's interesting because the first episode is directed by Lena Dunham,
Yeah.
and it sounds like she might have some sort of like producing or like her hand into kind of like what comes out of this moving forward, at least in like maybe just a collaboration or
Yeah.
whatever role.
I think she was billed as like a top producer when the show was announced anyway.
And I wonder if that's gonna come back around at some point, or that's just kind of gonna be a one off as like something that women in this industry deal with. I don't know. It kind of just like came and went and wasn't ever really addressed again. So there's a lot of balls in the air. I'm just interested to see which ones they actually hit on, which ones they don't.
Right. And then you think about her colleague, her fellow new grad, Yasmin, right? She's facing kind of this blatant misogyny, whereas
Mhm.
Harper really isn't seeing that from her coworkers. They already kind of mentioned that. So there's a lot of like those little grenades we've seen thrown off. We'll see how many of them actually blow up in the end. Um, Speaking of Lena's direction, I really liked how that first episode is shot and like the visual style that's continuing the second episode. Like it's like you feel like you're in a real place. Like it feels kind of realistic and like those kind of close-ups on everyone. Like I liked the visuals we're getting there, and then you combine that with like kind of like the rhythmic like synths that they kind of throw in
Mhm.
from like scene transitions and stuff. Like I think the vibe is setting in nice, you know. And also I feel like I remark on this a lot with like business related shows when they do it, but industry doesn't like hold your hand about knowing like what the fuck those finance jargon terms mean, right? Just go with it because it's not to the
Mhm.
point. The vibe
Right.
and the feeling and the themes are communicated well. And that's actually what's important for the audience and for the success of the show. So like that, right? Like I don't know what the fuck five beeps means, right? But
Right.
please keep saying it. It sounds great.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think there's a lot to like about this show. I'm hoping right around like the middle of the season it really hits its stride and takes off for a great final stretch. I'm
Yeah.
hopeful about it. So, any last thoughts before we move on to some movies?
There was a Joji Gimme Love drop
I
in
know.
episode two, was it? One
Yep.
or two?
Episode two.
Again, we've remarked that HBO dropped the ball not using a Joji song for Run, the title track, the title song. Yet they used it in this. Man, what could have been? Also, I really like Eric. He had this line, one of his first scenes, where he's like talking about going to the restaurant Nobu. Then he like clarifies to go pre '08 Nobu. It's like, man, like you can tell, like there's a lot of care, I think, to the
Yeah.
finance vibe going on. So I'm in.
We'll be checking back with that as the season winds down.